An interesting trend we saw in July that we haven't seen previous months. Previous months, we've seen significant consistency of the four markets that we follow: St. Louis County, St. Louis City, St. Charles, and Jefferson County. Traditionally, over the last few months, we've seen inventory similar, sales similar, either up or down, pricing up or down. But here's the thing: inconsistent between the different markets we study. St. Louis County, active inventory down 9%. And again, active inventory across the board is down. So month over month, year over year, we're seeing down inventory. But here's where it changes. If we were to look at unit sales in St. Louis County were actually down 5% year over year. But St. Charles County sales were up 3%. St. Louis City is the big one, up 10%, which is great to see that actually there's some momentum in St. Louis City. And we'll get a little bit further into that. And then Jefferson County, unit sales were down year over year 5%. But here's the interesting thing. When you look at prices, median prices in St. Louis County were up 10%. Median prices St. Charles up 5%. St. Louis City, interesting. Unit sales were up 10%, yet prices were down 4%. And in Jefferson County, prices up 3%. So there was some consistency between the four markets, but not 100% across the board like we've seen it. So let's go a little bit deeper. St. Louis County, active inventory down, new listings significantly down, unit sales down, prices up. Same story that we've been talking about. Great homes are selling. Homes that are not prepared for sale, overpriced, are just sitting. And what's happening, we're getting to a point right now as we enter the third quarter, and then we'll get into the fourth quarter winter, that we're going to start seeing homes come off the market. So two things: if you have a great home that you price right, prepare for sale, very likely multiple offers over asking. However, if you have a home that may be getting beat up a little bit from the market and you haven't yet put it on, but you're not going to do a lot of work and other, as long as you price that home right, I feel really good about it because, again, new listings are way down year over year. St. Charles County, little bit different. Although active inventory is down, we're starting to see homes come off the market in St. Charles County. Unit sales are up a little bit, prices up a little bit. But one thing you're seeing, massive new construction out in St. Charles County. So it's to be expected that we're going to see a little bit bump up in unit sales. But what's interesting is these new listings and active inventory still being down with all the new inventory. So if you're a seller in St. Charles, the story is still the same. You better price it right. You better prepare it for sale, because in many subdivisions, you're actually competing with new inventory, meaning new construction inventory. And some of those houses are really being discounted by those builders. St. Louis City, this is where it's interesting. Again, unit sales were up, great news, prices were down. Meant that there are some sellers that are selling in the city. Properties are being bought in the city, but buyers are taking a swing and they're actually asking below market, or they're writing contracts that are below the asking price, and many of those are actually being bought at that below market price. So again, we're seeing some motivated sellers in the city. Good news, they're selling, but again, below the market value of year over year. Now, if you were to look at, if you went back to 2021, for example, in the city, homes have gone up the median price of 18%. But when you look at St. Charles, that same time period, they went up 28%. St. Louis County, same time period, 30%. Jefferson County, same time period, 32%. So no doubt about it that the city has lagged in price appreciation, but Finally, good news though that unit sales are up. And Jefferson County, again, active inventory down, but very interesting. Of all the markets, new listings are actually up. And so what happens here is, and unit sales were down, prices up a tad. So there are some sellers that are wanting to sell in Jefferson County, some motivated sellers. In my opinion, if you're a buyer in that market, take a swing at them. There may be some opportunities because, again, with new listings coming up, interest rates this month, almost 7%. There are some buyers getting out of the market. So as we see an increase in new listings, there may be some great buying opportunities. So keep your eye open for that. Overall, across the market, I don't expect to see any massive changes. Again, inconsistent, but I don't see any massive swings over the next few months. I don't see any massive increase in inventory. I don't see massive new listings coming on the market. Again, more are going to be coming off the market as we get into the winter. Interest rates, again, I mentioned 7%, 6.5, 6.75, somewhere in that neighborhood. Don't see that changing much. Remember, we have to get down in the fives to unlock some of those sellers that are in 2 and 3% that are just sitting on those low mortgage rates that want to sell but aren't ready to sell because they don't want to take on a new interest rate. So again, don't see any massive changes, but great homes, priced right, prepared for sale, selling. Homes overpriced, underprepared for sale, are sitting. There may be some opportunities if you're a buyer, though. So don't be afraid of those homes to get a little bit more aggressive. Questions about buying, selling, investing? Let me know.